Hello and welcome to the fourth video devlog for Project Sentinel. In the last session I started to lay out the floor plan for my level. Since then I've made a few small additions while in class. I've started to experiment with the aesthetics of the level by altering the materials on a couple of things. To start that, we'll go into materials here and I'll actually open those up. So we've got a M_metallic colour, and this has just got a 3 vector for the basic colour. We've got a scalar parameter for the metallic and a scalar parameter for the roughness, and that means that when we create instances from that, if we want to change anything or add to the material, we're just adding to the one, and that'll apply across all of the metallic materials I apply. I've done the same for emissive, which again this is just using a base colour, and then we're multiplying that base colour by a scalar parameter and feeding that into emissive colour, and then the base colour just from the base colour to give us a nice vibrant emissive. I'll hit save on these and close them. So I've used these to make the pipes look a bit more like copper, and to adjust the colours on the player character. I've also taken a copy of the player character's skeletal mesh, if I just find that in here. So I'm using this to make a prop. I've named this SK Deadbot, and the only real difference is this red emissive for the faceplate here. And the player now, with the adjustments, if I open that up, the player now has a purple emissive, and we can see that like this. But other than that, it's the same model, same texture, same everything, just that one faceplate. We'll close this. So the prop I've created is a hanging bot, and if I jump over into the student work folder again now and go into blueprints, I can take this hanging robot and just bring it into the scene, and if I hit simulate, we can see that it flies off, and that's not what I intended to do. I forgot that I'd actually coded it into there. But I'll show that functioning now. If I come down here, this is where I've actually implemented them. Now, this isn't perfect, but after the initial jump they seem to correct themselves, but they do hang too far down from the point the way that I've set them up. I'll actually open that now. So if I go into the viewport, what I've attempted to do here is using a scene component and naming it hang point. I've bound the skeletal mesh to it, so I've made the skeletal mesh a child of that scene component, and everything else is a sibling of the scene component. We've got the static mesh, and we've got a physics constraint. Now the static mesh doesn't have physics enabled, while the skeletal mesh does, hence why it hangs. And the idea is that the physics constraint binds these two items together. But the result that I keep getting is that the robot hangs, it sort of falls down to around here, and I'm still troubleshooting why it does that. But yeah, that's where we're at with that. Basically the code for this, on initialization it sets a start location because it works very much like a moving platform, and then it starts motion, and then the start motion simply runs an animation timeline to set the world location of the default scene route, lerping between a start and a target location. And then when it finishes that, it destroys the actor. Now this isn't the most efficient way of doing this, because as it stands, if I find the accompanying blueprint for this, here we are, timed spawner. Now the timed spawner on begin play sets a timer by event, and that's an exposed variable spawn delay. It's currently set to 1, so every second it will run spawn actor. And spawn actor just spawns an actor of class. I've exposed this as a variable just in case I want to use it for spawning in the future, but that's just a little bit of customization to the logic there. And then we're using the arrow component, getting the world location and rotation, and we're setting that for the transform of the spawn. So really we've got these bots spawning every second, and once they reach a certain point in that timeline, so after I think maybe 10 seconds, we're going to have them despawning, destroying themselves every second. And I feel like to be far more lightweight to just reset the position of them. So rather than destroy actor, I'm going to take that away, and we are going to set the world location of the default scene route. On finished, back to start location. So in theory, they'll just, teleport to the start location. And then we'll just call start motion again on self. That should do it. Now, the issue there is that now in the timed spawner, we're going to have things trying to spawn overlapping as soon as one resets at the end. So we only want to run this a set number of times. So what we'll do, we'll give it a variable, and we'll say spawn count. And we'll make this an integer. Just compile so that we actually get a variable there. So what we want to do is, when we spawn, we're going to set the spawn count and the spawn count is going to be spawn count plus 1. I'll just hit Q to straighten those. We'll plug that in there. Just move this over a touch so I can see what's happening better. So now, each time this runs, it's going to set the spawn count, increment it up. And then what we want to do is run a check after this. So spawn count is greater than, let's say, 3 to begin with for the purpose of testing. Hold B and just click to give us a branch there. Straighten this up. So if the spawn count is greater than 3, in fact we'll make this a variable as well. We'll call this max spawn. And we'll compile because we want to set the max spawn. Oh, it's already taken the 3, perfect. And if this is true, if we're greater than max spawn, no, if we're equal to or greater than max spawn, what's the name of the... There we go, I think I found it. We just needed to I needed to search the name of the node. So we want to clear and invalidate timer by handle. And we're just going to disconnect it from there because we want it plugged in here. So if the spawn count is equal to or greater than max spawn, then we're going to clear and invalidate timer by handle. I'm going to compile and save that. I'm just going to neaten that up a bit, because that'll really annoy me otherwise. There we go. There, nice and readable. Compile and save that. And we will save that. We'll just minimise and we'll see if that works. Simulate. It's 1, 2, 3. No more spawn. And when they get to the end, do they come back? They do, but they don't move again. Okay, so move to location, then destroy self. Oh, so what we'll do, we'll just create a custom event. And we'll just say, restart. Oh, if I could, if I could spell. And then we'll just say, play from start. And then we don't want to start motion. We want to restart. Restart that motion. Compile. Save. Simulate. We get the 3. The spawner stops. They reach the destination. They come back. And they carry on. So now it's just about spawning enough to fill the beam. So we could jump back into that variable. The timed spawner. And now we could say the max spawn. We could expose it and we could give it 10. Let's see how 10 does. Oh, look at that. That was a perfect guess. 10 was enough. And that'll be the same all the way down here. Ah, we do have them sort of jumping across there though. We can see the the bots sort of launch back. let's just revisit that, shall we? So hanging robot. Or if we don't teleport and we just set the world location, does that look cleaner? Nope, they still jump. Well, while I feel like that's more lightweight, that looks really buggy, and I don't think that's going to be the way to do this. But we can just add the functionality to destroy the actor again. So we just go back into the timed spawner and we will disconnect. No, we keep that in there. Disconnect from here. Because I'm going to leave that functionality there. I might actually use it for something. I think I'll just separate it off along with that over here. Bring this comment box back and then I'll just comment this out. I'll call it something like spawn count logic, because that might be useful later, and if not, and I do package and build this, then it really isn't that much hassle to come in here and delete that. I might even set that red so that I know that that's not... Oh. So that I know that that's not actually connected and in use. And then the hanging robot. I'll just delete that. And then I'm finished. Destroy actor self. So now it will destroy itself again, but I'm going to keep the custom event there again so that I know it's there if I need it, and I can just comment that out and call it restart event. The only reason I'm commenting it out is so that I can turn it red. So here, because if I was to package, I can just come through all of the creative blueprints and delete anything that's in red, because I know that red is my bug testing, small implemented changes that don't really do anything, just functionality for building the game, and I can decide in each case whether it's actually useful or not. We'll compile and save that. So I've also started to experiment with environmental storytelling in the opening area. I've taken a similar setup to the prop we were just working on and taken this little rod that I use to attach the skeletal mesh to. And I've just made the scene look a little bit broken here, so that when the player spawns in, they get that feeling that they're from this facility, but there's something different about them. Through the level that was built in the last video, I've also started to add a few traps, so some of the moving lasers, some of the mines that were created, just to give the game a little bit more of a feeling. It's laid out according to my plans, but I've been adding a couple here and there as I go, just to add to that game feeling. Like this, for example, I'd only got the lasers. This little bit in the middle, I thought to introduce this kind of a jump to the player, it'd be nice to add a little element of danger, just to spice things up a little bit, because this is sort of the tutorial area for this kind of jump, and then over here this jump will be death if you miss, and it just sort of gives the player an opportunity to practice before it's a fatal decision. Speaking of the lasers and damage dealing things, we've inside the player character I have, if I open it up, added some functionality for the shield. So damage logic, so we've basically taken the is shielding boolean that we were provided with. I'll just find where that is. It might be in components. No. Here we go. Character states. So we were provided with a shielding boolean. So that's been plugged into a branch here that basically says, are we shielding? If so, then just play the damage effects. But if not, then actually apply the damage that we're taking. While that's a good system, I feel like it's a little bit easy to get through some of the challenges. So what I think I'm actually going to do is we want to halve the damage, I think. So take a copy of that. So at this point in the video I realised that the audio had messed up in editing, so I'm just going to have to cover this with voiceover. So what I did here was I dragged out of the damage from event any damage, and I did the exact same logic and I just multiplied it by 0.5, and that halved the damage value. I then fed that into the true branch of is shielding to set the health, and then plugged that into the damage FX, and that just means that when taking damage we only take half the damage if we're shielding, which still punishes the player for being hit, but also rewards for using the shield and negates some of that damage. The final change I made was adding sound effects to the doors. To do this I downloaded a few sounds from freesound.com. It was a single download with multiple sound effects for doors. I then pulled that into Audacity and sliced it up, and then I put that into Unreal Engine as separate files. Now I created a sound queue, imported all of those files into the sound queue, and plugged them all into a random so that it chooses one of the sound effects at random. I then fed that into a modulator and set the pitch to be a little bit higher for the doors opening and a little bit lower for the doors closing. Then inside the blueprint for the doors I simply added a play sound at location to the open and close event, and I set the attenuation radius so that you could hear it a good distance away but not like at the other side of the map. I think it was about 1,000 units. I'll now run a play test of the level so that you can see all of these changes in effect. I'll now time-lapse the rest of the video as I work on building the rest of the skeleton for the level. So what I'm going to do here is take the instant static mesh in the generator blueprint. I'm just going to search for cast shadow, and I'm going to turn that off because the setting for the game is that we're in some kind of dark industrial facility, so it doesn't make sense for the floors to be casting shadows down like this, and I'm going to do the same for the walls. I think I'll go into the wall generator, instant static mesh, and we're going to go for cast shadow. We'll turn that off, get rid of that, compile, save, we'll save that too, and we'll close all these blueprints down. There we go. And that just makes everything look a bit more uniform, especially when we're working over multiple layers like this. because we can add light in to the rooms, and it's not getting all the effect in the floors below. So yeah, I'll continue the time lapse now. So I'm just going to add a little bit of functionality to the large elevator. It's nothing crazy. I'm just going to take the target location and I'm going to turn the 3D widget on for it. I'll compile and save that. Okay, now that we're here, so we'll just come over, we'll interact. We seem to be going the wrong way, and that is going to be because I rotated it round. And we'll crash. Marvellous. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to have this travel upwards, because looking at where I want to take it, it's not really necessary to have it travel over any further. It would only have to travel over like maybe by another 200 centimeters, and that'd be it'd look silly. So I think I'm just going to have the lift travel upwards. I'll resume the time lapse and carry on building this out. So aside for the boss room, that's the entire floor plan for the level laid out. It's obviously not the final version of the level, it's mostly placeholder. We'll be wanting to change a lot of these floors, but that's why we expose the variable to be able to do that easily. Yeah, there's a lot of design that needs to go into these rooms still, but as a skeleton, I'm quite happy with it. I think I'm going to leave that this video here at that, and pick up in another one just to give my voice a little bit more time to recover. Thanks for watching, guys, and I shall catch you in the next one.